Hey, mate, how are you, JB?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
You back home?
Yeah, well, corner, second home.
Yeah, well, that's now. That's home for now.
Yeah. Well, it's not our first home just yet. I think the longer we stay here, it might be our second home. Yeah.
Yep. That's good. And the weather's good.
Yeah, weather's good. Bit of rain last night, but got up in the morning. It hasn't rained all day, so it'll probably rain again tonight. It's really that tropical sort of weather, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so I look like I've been on an island for a week.
Yeah, you do, brother. Hang on one.
Look like.
I think I've got so we just got Jeff Sentence ringing because he's on. So,
how are you?
Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
Yep.
It's his reception.
Waiting for the one because he's not there.
Okay, I might ask CJ.
Got this link, CJ. Please, can you send the link through to LB?
Okay.
Please.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah. So
I only just
we've got Jeff waiting there, but he must have the link.
Sorry, I must have sent the wrong link. So
copy that.
apologies.
So,
Cool. CJ's going to send it to you in Messenger, I think. Is that right?
can you send Jeff Sentence in, please,
Okay.
brother?
Or you'll be able to send it to your phone.
With my
Okay,
phone
thank
to
you.
Jeff's phone, please.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just on. Yeah, okay. I'll get. Hold on a minute.
All good. All good. Now, while you're doing that, brother, I might country, so we're not running too far behind. I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians where we work, meet and play, and just pay the utmost respect to all our elders, the old ones, the new ones, and everyone in between as well, and just hope that all travel well. Also, I want to pay respects to our ancestors for getting us to where we are today. I want to my mob, the money people down there in southwestern New South, and to your mob too, CJ, and everybody else's mob as well. So, so there we go. Over to you, brother.
Really good, thanks, mate. Yeah, no, that's good. I've got to pay more respects to the Indonesian and Balinese people that, let us travel around their place in safety, I suppose, and enjoy what they've got. I think it's a beautiful part of the world, but sometimes you just can't be at home, eh? So we'll leave it at that. But pay my respects as well to my family up there in Cairns, Yirinji people and Gimoy, and also my Torres Strait Islander family and my ancestors from Torres Straits, Thursday Island, Bardigal people. So, as well as you mentioned, our leaders today, our leaders from the past and our leaders for our future, you know what I mean? And we're talking about young people there. So obviously they're going to be taking the reins. It kind of showed a little bit in that election, I think. The young vote might have made the difference. Yeah. So it's great that they're showing some initiative, I guess, and also making their voices heard. So yeah, my respect goes out.
Yeah, I think you're right too, brother, and I think it does. There's plenty of coming young fellas and young ladies as well coming through and making it now. We've just got Jeff Sentence coming in now, so we'll just bring him into play, brother, and I'll see how we go. Shit, he's on his own there. What happened there?
Have you got me?
We've got. Yeah.
I think we got you, mate. Yeah.
Technology, mate. Awesome.
Hey,
at least I'm not upside down, so that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah, I know. We're setting some new standards.
Thought I had to rub that into Queenslanders, mate. So
yeah, that's what. Upside down, down under.
That's why I'm wearing the blue shirt for you, brother. So
I know. Thank you for that. Oh,
we see that, brother. We see that. So you might as well get off now. You've had your time now. So yeah. You're right, brother. You're right. How are you, Jeff?
I'm good, mate. I'm really good. What about yourself?
Yeah, look, we're travelling really well. We're
Yeah,
again
It's been a
in,
long time since we've caught up. We first met back in when we done a leadership course in Melbourne. When
correct,
it was,
Jeff, correct.
Kyle,
And
Kyle
was-
Vanderkite was on that course.
I was trying to think what year that was. I reckon it's around 2010.
It was about 2010 because Uncle Benny Hodges was one of the facilitators with Eddie Watkins.
Oh,
They
yeah.
were the
Correct.
They were two facilitators.
Two great
CJ,
Queensland.
we met in about 2013 at Stradbroke
Yeah.
Island when I was working for Australian Bureau of Statistics. I used to
Oh,
come
right.
over there for
Yeah.
I used to come over there for the Indigenous forums, the inner
Yeah.
agency forums, and NATO, and a couple of NAIDOC weeks, and you still owned the pizza shop there.
Yeah, that's right. Still owned it then, but no, we've lost it we've sold it a long time ago now. So it's been years actually, and kind of missed that lifestyle that I had back there, and especially in that community, just a lovely community, you know, and yeah. So, but you know, we've got to spread our wings a little bit and take off and do what we need to do. But I've got to say, two very, very strong and smart and intelligent people, Eddie Watkins and also Benny Hodges.
Yeah,
Good fellas.
Good fellas. Yeah, Cairns boys. They're both Cairns boys. So
Yep.
you know, there's a few of us up there that are doing some great things.
no,
100%.
no, they were pretty good facilitators on that course. That was fairly enlightening. When we done that course in Melbourne, there was I think there was about 20 of us. I think if I remember around about that mark, I think there was about 20 of us that went and done that training. That was selected to do that training.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
No, definitely. Yeah, and then some good fellas there as well, Jeff.
Yeah,
Their crew.
Yeah, there was some funny fellas there too. Yeah, we had some interesting nights. There's no doubt about that one.
Definitely.
And that isn't that good? Isn't that great when we get together that we can all have a laugh? You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%, 100%, CJ.
Never met each other from a bar of soap, and we get together, we start, you know, cracking jokes and carrying on. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's too short to be. The world's too short. Or life's too short to be too serious. So we've got to make sure we have a laugh and look after our family and look after the mob and just do what we need to do. I see my cousins online, so I better not tell any lies now. So I'll have to tell all the truth since Brett's hooked in there.
He did get online and then keep an eye on you, brother. So
yeah, I know. He keep an eye on me to make sure I don't tell him stories about him. I can tell you.
yeah. But there's a few of those going around.
Sorry, what was that one?
There's a few of those going around. A few stories about Brad. So
yeah, beautiful.
And he's a grandfather.
Yes, I am a grandfather. So we have 1, 2. Oh, he's a grandfather. Well, I'm a grandfather. I have 1, 2.
Right.
We have. He's a grandfather. He's got one. Well, he's got 1, and I've got 3. So we're all.
All right, Jeff. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to these days, bro.
Well, mate, I going back in the years, I suppose. Going back a long time ago, 1978. I joined the army. I joined the Army Reserves, and then in '79 I joined the Army itself, and stayed in there for 16 years. And I thought it was time after about 16 years to get out. It wasn't a really kind organisation to be in back in those days. They were very racist in all different ways. I hopefully they've changed now. So then I sort of got out of the army and done a few odd jobs here and there. Fell into the public service. I honestly fell into the public service. I was working as a debt collector. Could you believe that? Me working as a debt collector. Ringing up people, telling them that we've got to take the house if they don't give me money. It's like, yeah, really? Anyway, so I got a 6-week non-ongoing contract with the tax office, and at the time my wife was heavily pregnant with our first daughter, and I just went home and said, I'm just quitting my job to go and work for 6 weeks. And she just looked at me and shook her head. Are you for real? I said, yeah. So that 6 weeks turned into 10 years in the public service. So I spent 10 years in the public service with tax office. Then I went to Canberra and went the old Faxia, and that's when we met Jack. That's when we done our leadership course. When I went to Faxia, and then from Faxia I went to Oric. So I spent 5 years at Oric, working in their trading team with Russell Steich and a few of the other boys down there. Russell and I are related by line when it comes, because my mob is basically. Listen, I have to apologise. I never acknowledge the traditional owners of the wonderful land that we're all on today. I'd like to acknowledge all our elders, past, present, and future, and everyone's elders where they are, and all the footprints that everyone's creating today. So I'd like to thank you for that. So I do apologise for not doing that earlier. So, but yeah, so then I was in the Oric training team for about 5 years. We went around doing governance training to all our corporations that fell under the CASIC Act, because you know that the Indigenous corporations have a choice of what act they can fall under. They've got their own special act that comes under Oric, or they can go mainstream. It's basically up to them. And then I got out of there and come to Brisbane and worked for the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and then I sort of gave public service a miss and been doing training basically. So I'm at the moment contracting for CIT in Canberra. I train on the Indigenous Apprenticeship Program, which is sponsored by Services Australia, and they put a thing out for around about 300 people to join. I think the last one, I think this new one they've got, they had 3,000 applications for 300 positions. So around Australia, so it's really tight knit. So I've been doing that since 2015, doing that program. I only contract. I don't work full time. I don't want to. So I look after the mob and look after the kids that come into that, those roles. They're starting fresh, and when they employ them, they employ them from as young as 17 and 18 and to as old as me and you, Jack. So they got. So there's a huge, diverse range of people that are joining these, that have taken the opportunities up at the moment. That the two groups or the three groups that I have, my diverse range. I think the oldest one is 65. So so that's and it gives them a diploma. So they do a diploma in government, which takes around about. They've got about 8 months to basically do that, and then they've got their own work within the public service. And what I get tired of all the time is people saying, "Oh, you only got this job because you're black and you've got a hand up." And I go, "Mate, you're doing more work than most non-Indigenous people, because A, they've got to pass a diploma to get the job. So if they don't pass the diploma, they don't get the job. And B, they've got to do all the work. They've got to do all their work within the agency that they're in. So they've got the double amount than what a non-Indigenous person's got." And I just get tired of hearing it all the time. I fight them all the time. It's like, I just shake my head at some of the people that just make those comments and say, "Are you for real? Do you actually know what this program's all about and what these people have to go through to get on this program? Like the recruitment phase itself, and then to get narrowed down from like on this last one, get narrowed down from 3,000 to 300. It's a huge phase. So, and so that's what I've sort of been doing. So that's sort of me in a little bit of a nutshell, I suppose.
That's cool.
Now,
Yeah.
Jeff. Now, Brett said stitches get stitches, so just be careful, all right?
Yeah, I like having a bit of a laugh. I got it. I mean, I'm pretty well broken too at the moment. So I got out of the army with a lot of injuries from those days. So I've got a fused left ankle. I've got 2 knees totally replaced, and my back is fused from the L4 to S1. And then I've got my left shoulder is bone rubbing on bone, and I'm trying to avoid surgery there for as long as I can. I've had, since 2015, I've had 26 surgeries along with pain management surgeries as well. So
So Jeff,
I get pain management surgery and buys me about 3 months at a time. So
now Jeff, can I just ask, what are some of those injuries from? You're saying they're from the arm?
all army, mate. Parachuting, jumping off the back of trucks, doing things that nowadays they wouldn't do. Do. But back in my days, we just got told you just, jumping out of aeroplanes when you've got a 70 to a 90 kilo pack strapped around, your left knee, your left leg, because that's where it goes when you jump. Hitting the ground at, God knows how fast, because they're not like your normal free fall shoot where you can actually slow down. When you've got the static line and you jump out of a plane, you've got two sides going at one time. You can only pull left and pull right and just hope to God that you're going to land in the right spot, and hope to God that your parachute training makes you roll the right way.
Makes you roll the right way. How much time have you got, Jeff? Like from the time you jump to the time you land, sort of stuff.
Well, at 1,000 feet, they say, when I done parachuting, they'd say, listen, when you get out of the plane, count to 8 seconds and then look up and see your chute open. Mate, if you wait for 8 seconds to look up and see if your chute's open, you've hit the ground if your chute hasn't opened. Mate, I used to jump out of that plane and my head would go straight up, and if my chute was open, great. If my chute wasn't open, I'd be going for that. I'd be going to pull the main chute away and be pulling that reserve chute out. And you don't have much time. You're on the ground probably in about, if your chute opens, you're on the ground in probably 60 seconds to a couple of minutes.
Wow.
If your chute doesn't open, you're on the ground in about 8 to 10 seconds, mate. So,
Jeff, can I just ask, so you've got all these physical injuries, and so you need to have surgery on that. How about your mental health and social?
Mate, I've got PTSD, so I suffer from PTSD and plus a couple other mental health things that we probably don't talk about. I mean, especially a veteran. Veterans don't really. You think blackfellas are bad, mate, but veterans are worse when it comes to talking about their, and you've got a combination of a blackfella and a veteran, so you've got the, we're not going to talk about anything, so you know what I mean. So veterans really don't open up a lot of times. We're getting better. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, the younger generation is actually getting better than opening up than what the older generation is doing. But we are all getting better, and I think it's got to do with you've got to have that mindset to be able to make sure that you can talk about your mental health issues, and you can talk about the critical things that have gone wrong, and you've got to be willing to bring up those memories, because some of those memories are absolutely not the greatest memories that you want to bring up. So you've got your mindset and your mind itself has got to be in that stage or in that area where you can cope with bringing that up. You know what I mean? You've got to be able to just cope with it.
Got to be able to look after yourself. That's right. It's all that trauma, I suppose, that you witness, but also you suffer. You know what I mean?
100%, CJ. I've seen people jump. I mean, I've seen some horrific injuries. Off the back of trucks and armored personnel carriers and jumping out of air. I've seen people hooked up on the side of airplanes where that hasn't gone out further enough and their chute's been caught, and it's like, it's a number of things. In Malaysia, we've seen some stuff that you probably wouldn't want to see. You wouldn't want to. I was in there in my first trip to Malaysia was 1981, and we just took hold of the F-18s in about 1981, and we were over there at the RAF base doing what they call peacekeeping. Anyway, I'm not sure how getting shot at's peacekeeping, but anyway, I won't go there. But they were doing a night flight with the F-18s, and one of the pilots over there his instruments must have played up in his plane, because he thought he was flying up. He thought he was facing up and pulling his plane up. Well, he was actually upside down and pulled his plane down. He hit the water doing about 500 mile an hour. Yeah, there wasn't too much. Too much left. I think we found a foot. I think so. That was not too much left of that pilot.
So Jeff, what are some of the things that you do to keep your mental health and your social emotional well-being in check?
Oh, no, that's a good question, really, because I mean, I'm part of two organisations up in Brisbane or up in Queensland, and one's called Young Veterans Sunshine Coast. We've got around about 2,000 members that are part of that organisation, and we run a lot of sort of activities and get-togethers, and of course, veterans, a lot of older veterans find it still really difficult, or not just older veterans, to be honest with you, all veterans still find it very difficult going from an army life to a civilian life. They've gone from a stringent background of being told what they've had to do, told where they've gone, told what time they've eaten, told what time they've got to go to bed. They've been told all this for God knows many years, and then all of a sudden they're out, and they've got that, and that structure's not there for them anymore, and they find that really difficult. The other organisation is an organisation called Veterans Wellbeing Foundation, which is our organisation at BWA, and it's it's what we call a one-stop shop. So we've got a coffee shop. We've created this. We've got funding. We actually built this from scratch. A beautiful RAF person by the name of Peter Kennedy spent 20 years in the RAF and done, I think, 5 or 6 tours of Afghanistan and a few other places. And this was one of his dreams, was to get something like this up and going. So we got funding from the Queensland government and a few other organisations. We had to raise about $500,000 to get this going. So it's a one-stop shop where veterans can come in. If they can't afford a coffee or they can't afford something to eat, we will give it to them. Because the money we make out of the coffee shop and that sort of stuff there from other people allows us to have funds to support veterans, and not just veterans but community members. We have some of the people from BWA community, that single parents and those, and people that are really struggling that can't afford to put food on the table, that bring them in and we give them a feed, we give them a hot coffee or whatever they need. And then we call what we do then is what we call, what they do in a hospital, we triage them. We just sit down and have a talk to them and find out, where you're at, what do you want to do, what brought you to here, what can we help you with, because we can then refer these people to every other organisation that's attached to us. We can refer them to psychologists, we can refer them to occupational therapists, we can refer them to doctors, specialists, all sorts of people just from the Veterans Wellbeing Foundation. They don't have to go anywhere else. We can actually just say, you come here and we'll refer you to wherever you need to go. And that makes them a little bit more comfortable. It gets them talking. That's one of the most important things. And what's another most important thing is when they start talking, we start talking, because we've done what, we've been there and sort of done what they're talking to us about. So it opens up our mental health, and it opens up our communication a little bit more than maybe what it done 5 or 6 years ago. So they're two organisations that I'm involved in at the moment. So
it's absolutely fantastic, brother. I mean, you want to give that coffee shop plug so that people know that it's there?
Mate, if people know it's there, the one area that's dropped off, and even DVA will tell you that they don't know how many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that they've had in the army, or not just in the army, in the Defence Force, got out of the Defence Force, because you never ticked the box to say, there was never no box to say, are you Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander? And when they actually apply for where they put in paperwork to, for DVA to actually try and get claims over the line, there's no box there to say, do you recognise Aboriginal, Torres Strait, both, one or the other. That's not there, so they don't know all these people. So if anyone knows an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander person, especially a veteran that's going through some stuff at the moment and needs to go somewhere, plug their organisation into them. We'd love to help them. We'd love to see them come to BWA and look after them and try and get them back on the track, because when a veteran suffers, people forget the family suffer. And when the family suffer, the kids suffer. It's like that dominoes effect. You flick that first little domino and they all go down, and that's what happens in a veteran's life. If something hits that PTSD, something strikes that mental health button and he goes off the rail, it's like pushing a domino effect. The whole family goes off the rail. And we got to rescue that. We've got to get that from not happening. So
certainly those triggers would probably bring out some of those emotions that when you're thinking about it. You don't want to be. I know you don't want to think about it and all that sort of stuff, but unfortunately, it's kind of a bit hard, isn't it, mate? To not think about that type of stuff.
I was listening to you last week, CJ, when you were talking about your mental health training and you were doing it for the kids and basically that sort of stuff. And I'm thinking, if you can start with the younger generation and bringing them and get that through, then when they get older or even if their families are suffering, if they can take them home, if you can get a family effect, you can get that family stuff in it. I think it's fantastic, because it's not just. I'm not here plugging the veteran. I'm happy to plug all mental health, because it's a huge thing in Australia. We're one of the worst countries in the world that don't know how to look after mental health. We have no idea on how to look after mental health. If we just put it in that too hard basket and throw it in the bin and go, someone else will pick that up later.
Can I ask you, Jeff? Now, and all three of us work in that space around, suicide prevention, the DV, all that sort of stuff, the mental health stuff as well. Do you think that sometimes, because there's so many people in offices sitting in Melbourne and Sydney, Canberra, and these sort of places that don't really know what's going on, and they're making decisions for everyone out there, whether it's regarding suicide prevention or mental health or DV and family violence. There's too many people sitting in offices that don't actually know what's going on in community.
I totally agree with you, brother. 100% agree with you. That's why we had that. That's why we had that big thing in the veterans in suicide. There were so many veterans chopping themselves off. That's why we had it. Now, they've spent millions of dollars on that, which was great. The foundings have come out. They've had the interviews. They've done all that. Mate, we could have told them exactly what they've done, and it wouldn't have cost them anything. They don't listen. And that's the big thing.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. They sit in their little office and they've got that bubble. And long as they've got that bubble and they're safe in that bubble and they don't have to leave that bubble, they don't. Yeah, the care factor is not really huge. It's not. And there's people like me and you and CJ and other people that are out there that I think we need to go on a circuit, mate, the three of us, and we just need to plug mental health with every single freaking organisations around the country, because honestly, if you start getting some people on board and you start getting some big players, then things will happen. But if you look at the American system, they've got. I'm not a huge fan of America. Don't get me wrong, but they look after their veterans and their mental health and all that sort of stuff better than any other country in the world. They've got hospitals that are just veterans hospitals only. You cannot go into that hospital unless you're a veteran or you're part of the military. They don't mix them with other people. If they've had a breakdown, then they go to that veterans hospital and they get the support they need. And we need stuff like that at the same time. I mean, we can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk until our nose bleeds, mate, but talk's cheap. It means nothing, and we all know that. We've got to put action behind them. How many lives are going to be lost, not just veterans, but Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander lives, adults, grandparents, children, all that sort of stuff. How many lives are going to be lost before Australia actually goes, shit, we're not on the right path? We've got all this wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
But there's everything that's been done, especially, it's great that you've got the funding and stuff, but a lot of times there's organisations and people doing all this work voluntarily, mainly because they care and, want to help out. So, and that sort of leaves it leaves a bit of a gap in terms of being able to service people, being able to get out, reach out to people and all that sort of stuff. So I know that, you guys have done more with the coffee club, the coffee cafe up there, and some other initiatives you've got going, but there are a few around as well. I know when I lived up in Darwin, there was another coffee cafe that was just for veterans as well, and anyone can go to it. But that was a place where people go just to have a yarn, sit down, have a coffee type of stuff. Really great. And there was a guy up there that used to take veterans out fishing, and he'd get them on the boat, take them out fishing day and all that kind of stuff. So it's.
Can I say I agree with you, CJ? Can I say that the only people that get paid at the Veterans Wellbeing Foundation are the girls that run the coffee shop. Every other single person there, myself, PK, and all that, we volunteer all our time. We don't. All our time's volunteered for, basically free. And I know what you mean up in Darwin. So there's a number of organisations that do that. There's Mates for Mates. They've got a few places up in Darwin. There's Soldier On. I mean, that's another organisation that look after them. There's Young Veterans Australia, which we fall under. We're a chapter of Young Veterans Australia, but they're another organisation that have got 16 chapters around Australia, from all the way from down in Victoria to New South Wales to Gladstone to Toowoomba. We've got 16 chapters everywhere. But can I say, we just don't open the door to veterans. We open the door to every single community person.
That's right.
Anyone that's suffering and can't cope and just needs someone to talk to, come in our front door. I'll give you a coffee. I'll buy you a coffee. I'll buy you something to eat if you need it. We'll just give you that.
We got a few people there that want to say hello. Woods, he said hi all. Hello, Jen. How are you? We've got Brett Sentence, your cousin. He said, great initiatives, well done. So, fantastic work. We've also got who else we got there? We've got Derek Wilson, who said, my story has what is it, CJ? My story
has already been shared on the program regarding trauma. I went on to work with people. Today I'm retired, yet talk about first responders, etc., asking the question, what do they do for themselves, for their self-care, given their jobs? Sometimes they are stunned by the question, and it's not something always talked about. It leads to a larger conversation. Organisations such as yours are crucial, be they for soldiers or first responders or doctors, so that's what Derek is saying. So
Beautiful. Thanks, Derek. Appreciate that.
And Lenny's there too, mate. Yeah, and he said, great chat, boys. Flick me the coffee shop address, might pop over for a coffee and a chat. Good on you, Lenny.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
Get that for you.
And you guys have got my mobile number, so if anyone reaches out and wants to, please pass my mobile number on to them. If they reach out and need some support, they need some help. They're in the Brisbane area, or they're popping into the Brisbane area, or whatever. Mate, the door's open.
Mate. Sometimes I feel that people that are affected by, these traumas and what's happening in society at the moment. So deep in depression that they just don't know that they're in depression. You know what I mean? They don't understand that they've got a mental health issue that they need to deal with, and it can be fixed. It's really sad. Like people are living on the streets these days. We don't even know their background. You know what I mean? And they may very well be, veterans, if you like, and just can't cope with the world as it is. Like you say, when you come out of the army and you go back in the civilian life, it's a bit of a shock, you know. And I would have think that even our incarcerated brothers and sisters who come out of there after being in there for so long is you can't fit back in, and they need support. But I just really I wonder sometimes, how many people are in fact have a mental health issue, you know what I mean, who suffer from mental health or struggle with mental health in Australia.
But that's it, though, isn't it, CJ and Jeff? I mean, the thing is, we don't know how widespread mental health is, and we look at different people, and I think everyone to some sort of extent suffers from some sort of mental illness. So as we talk about, it's a matter of degrees sometimes. Some people are affected more greatly than others are, but I think that at some stage in their life, everyone goes through some sort of mental illness. So I think this is such an important chat that we're actually having, that we need to be able to, as Jeff, we need to get this on the table. We need to get it out there, not just for our returned soldiers, but everyone. But we need to be supporting our fellas and girls that have gone fight for Australia when they come back, or been in that environment. We need to be able to support them. We need to get this out there. How much they are suffering. So I think it's just such a great chat that we have, brother. So thank you for coming on.
No, I'm honoured that you invited me on. I know we've been trying to get on for a little while, and things just don't work out every now and again in life. You know what it is, so you know what it's like. So,
sure do.
But I think that I think we just need to have that care factor, because I just don't think a lot of people have that care factor anymore. So, and that's what we need to open our hearts, and we need to open our minds. And to see what these people are going through. And in training, when we teach communications, I always talk about listening skills, and I say there's two types of listening. And they look at me and say, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, there's listening," and I said, "There's active listening." I said, listening is when the lights are on and there's no one home. You really don't give a shit. You're just sitting there and going, "Are we over? Can we just get out of here?" Where active listening is when you're actually taking part in the conversation. You care about what the person is saying, and you're getting your buy-in. The buy-in is so important when it comes to active communication between. I've got to get my 12 or 13 or 14 students, whatever I've got at the time. I have to get them to buy in, and I active communicate with them. I active listen to them. When I shut that door and I have a big sign that says safe room, this is a safe room. You can say whatever you like. It doesn't go outside this room. This is our safe ground. And that's when you get the actual proper active listening happening, what they're going through. Some people, some of the kids that do this training, they're the first person that's got a goddamn job in their family. And what happens? They get paid on it. They get paid once a fortnight. And where does their money go? It goes to mum and dad. It goes to supporting the family. They're the first one that's had the job. They go, "I've got a job." They're the first one that's gone further in their education. So it's me as being proud of all them, but then it's me also trying to come up with some solutions to help them in their family life, to help them in their public service life, to basically hopefully spend some of my 40 or 50 odd years of working around in different areas to help them understand how they're going to have their ups and downs, and things are not going to be the great, but so it's
really I think you got to have a conversation, I suppose, haven't you? When you see someone struggling, have a conversation. Just say hello, and like you say, be present. Just listen to what they're saying, and also be ready, be mindful that if they're saying things to you, you need to know. One of the things is you need to know how to react to that, or what to say. Those types of things. It's quite because a lot of times you can be real kind of gully about, "Oh shit, I'm not going to ask that question." What happens if they say they're suicidal and stuff. You know what I mean? And yeah, so it's really sometimes it's a bit difficult, but let's not make it awkward. Let's make it a normal conversation where you just talk about stuff. You'll you hear some things that may shock you, but it's really about staying calm and having that chat, having that conversation through, so that you can sort of settle them down and first up, really, and they're talking to you because they want you to know this. They're trying to get it off their chest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And it's a two-way conversation, CJ. I actually tell them about my trauma in the army. I actually tell them about my experiences. I open up to, and that's taken me a long time to do, to open up to students that you're going to be spending the next 8 to 10 months with. You're going to be there at times. You could be their parent. You're going to nurture them. You're going to nurture them through the next 8 to 10 months, and they're gonna. And some of the things that they've opened up to me have just put me left field. I've just gone, how am I going to answer that? I've had to go away and come back and readdressed it and re-answered it. But if you can acknowledge your own trauma and you can part that on to some people, people that want to listen to you, then you can take on someone else's trauma and you can actually try and help them at the same time. So I think it's a two-way win. I think it's a win-win deal where you're helping yourself, but you're helping them at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, it's really important that if you're really concerned, if you've heard something that concerns you, let them know you're concerned. Don't worry, I'm going to stay here with you. I'm going to make sure that you're safe, and I'll look after you for the time being, and until you settle down, all that sort of stuff. Or until you let me know that you're okay. That type of stuff. So it's really important to not so much concentrate on that person in terms of what they might do. It's about you feeling. Let them know how you feel about their situation. I think it's really
100%. We do that as well. We have Are You OK days. So, we every 3 months or so, I put a thing out there and have it at the Veterans Wellbeing Foundation, an Are You OK Day. Come and have a coffee. Come and have a chat. We'll have a guest speaker lined up, someone that talks about, life in general, or someone that might, someone that people might have put a thing in to say, oh, we'd love to hear about this. So we'll try and get a guest speaker in there for that morning and we'll get them in for a coffee. And again, if they can't afford it, we'll give it to them. We'll just give you a coffee. That's what the foundation's for. That's
brilliant. And I think too, sometimes all people want is to tell their story as well. So sometimes, it's just about being present there with them and listening to their story. Everyone's got a story to tell, and everyone wants their story heard. So sometimes it's just about being present.
Oh, mate, and that's our biggest problem, JB, is that a lot of people don't want to listen to someone's story. A lot of people just, don't want to listen. Well, if you don't want to listen, why are you here? Go away. And I've told many people that. Don't you worry about that. Because all people need to be in a safe place. It doesn't matter whether you're Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander, whether you're a veteran, whether you're a community person, whether you're a kid or whatever. It doesn't matter. They all need to be in a safe place. And if we can create one safe place for everyone to come and know if they sit down there that they're in a safe place and nothing's going to happen to them, then we've won. The way I look at, I actually look at, if we save one person, we're doing great. If we save 2 people, that's even better. But if we save 10 people, we're winning. We're winning the battle against mental health, and we're winning the battle against suicide. We're winning the battle against not just for us, but for all Australia. We're winning the battle for everyone. That's what we've got to do. We've got to win that battle, one step at a time. It's like fighting a war, mate. You've got to take one step at a time. And you've got to take that, if that's the hill you need to take, and that's where the person is, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to get towards that hill, and you've got to get towards that person. And you get one step at a time.
Can I ask you, Jeff, do you think worse since COVID-19?
Oh, freaking nice. Because everyone was confined to their house. No one could get out. So So you look when we had COVID-19, you couldn't go to a shopping centre, you couldn't go and have a coffee, you couldn't go and see your friends. Some people couldn't go and see their mothers, because they couldn't step outside their house. And people that suffered mental health during COVID-19, it just hit them 110%. It just hit them again, And then it's given people the excuse, the ones that don't like going out of the house anyway, it's given the excuse, I'm not going out of the house now because the government's told me I don't have to. So I can sit in my little four walls and just do what I want to do and bleed in my own sorrow because the government said I don't have to go anywhere. If I want to go outside, I've got to wear a mask. Well, guess what? I don't want to wear a mask, so I'm not going outside. It's like, it didn't create a great environment. There was no doubt about that. So.
No, it changed everything, I think, and some of us still struggle to get back into that, what we used to do. You know what I mean? It's because that's changed too, because you don't do it that way anymore. It's
yep. Yeah. And then when we had COVID-19 and all the organisations said, okay, well, you can work from home, and they've had a look around and say, oh, geez, the productivity's better. We're saving a little bit of money because we don't need to rent these buildings anymore. So we'll just make the people work twice as hard, but not pay them any more money.
Yeah.
It's like really?
So,
really?
So, Jeff, we had COVID, and then another big issue for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people was the referendum, and the amount of fear that come with that put on top of the fear that come with COVID. It's just amazing, and just some of the stuff that's from both of those issues, if you like, because like our mobs are still hurting from the referendum, and for me, and again, this is only my opinion, it was set up to fail. But the other thing is that it has just given an open forum for racism to continue and to get bigger and people to say what they want. And now, again, we've got the other issue around welcome to countries. So I mean, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So,
oh, mate, they're trying to squash everything. We're getting hit from pillar to post, mate. It's like being at war again. I mean, getting smacked from one side of the country to the other. They're trying to take away everything that we fought for to basically get recognised for. I mean, you got to think about it. Jack and CJ and me and even Brett and a few of the others out here, we fought for, to be recognised. We actually fought not to be, second-class citizens. We fought to be part of Australia. To be, we all want to be, the one nation and the one country, and we all want to sort of live together. But it's just not working. It's just, because everything, as you said, COVID, the referendum, it was set up. The referendum, as far as I'm concerned, was set up for the yes vote to win. There's no two ways about it. The no vote just got sold out basically. And some of our mob basically sold it out. So we just got sold out. So everyone, and then we've gone. And then we've gone to the welcome to country. This quite, and I think what they've done down in Melbourne when they stopped the sponsorship rights for the Melbourne Storm, I think that was a huge step to say we're not taking your crap. If you don't want to have welcome to country, you're not getting our money, and we're not putting our Koori kids out there at halftime. You're not being on our deadly shirts. You're not doing anything, until you actually respect us, until you actually take us as we are. A welcome to country is not a big thing. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. It's not a big thing to do. It doesn't take up a lot of your time. It's the respect. It's the respect of actually getting that auntie or uncle to do it, to come out in their own time to actually do it. They're on. We're visiting someone else's country. We're visiting someone else's country in Melbourne. We're visiting someone else's country in Brisbane and New South Wales. The AFL have no issues with welcome to countries. I just don't there was a big, huge thing about Anzac Day, about the welcome to country. It was like, let's not bring me into that one.
But,
I mean, so.
A lot of these buffoons, if you like, that don't understand what welcome to country is. It's not about welcome to Australia, and that's where
No,
they're getting caught up with this.
that's correct. It's welcome to the land that you're on. So welcome to country. You're in Victorian country. So we're welcoming you to the Victorian country, not welcoming you to Australia. If you're in Brisbane, we're welcoming you to the Brisbane now. If you're in up the Sunshine Coast, I mean, that's the Gubby area. It's Uncle Mick Douglas and his mob up there. I mean, we're welcome. We're welcome to the country up there. We're not welcome people to Australia. We're all part. We're all Australians. We all own Australians together. We're not trying to divide it. We're just welcoming you onto the land that you're on, or the land that you're playing the sport on, the land that what you're going to. But what's going to happen when they start the Olympic Games in 2032? 2032. What are they going to do? Are they going to not have a welcome to country? Are they not going to have this sort of stuff? I mean, the impact is just. I don't think they realise how much of an impact they have by canning those sorts of things on the whole generation.
Definitely.
I really shake my head when I think about this whole situation. I think that, we're only 3% of the community here and the population here in Australia. Okay, so we seem to be like the biggest threat ever. You know what I mean? 3% of the population, and when they go to do bloody politics, they're kicking us around all over the place. And there's bigger issues and there are bigger things to be arguing about than Aboriginal people, really. And it's just
100%. Mate, look at our health system. It's a freaking crash in Australia. It's like, oh my God, look at the hospital, look at the ambulances, look at all those sorts of things. So don't look at what we're doing, because we don't have a big say in anything. But fix the country before you try and fix anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really like a political football. They just bring out the Aboriginal card and say, well, okay, this is what we're going to do, and then that upsets everybody, and then we get all this bloody debate and arguments and misunderstandings. Really, it's just I'm kind of over it at the moment, because it's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? They need to have a think about. We're only 3% of the population. And we're the headlines.
Always the headline. Always the biggest threat. Why? I've got no idea. Smallest population, biggest threat. Do we have the bite? Do we have the bigger bite than any other population that's around us? So I don't think there's an easy fix to this. To that. I really don't think there is. I think we've all got to take a bit on our shoulders and go, well, okay, let's see what's going wrong, and let's see what we're doing right, and let's do more of the right than the wrong.
Definitely.
I think so, mate. Yeah.
Hey, look, Jeff, it's been fantastic having you on. Finally getting you on to have a yarn with you, and a really thought-provoking chat that we've actually had, and it's I know there's a lot of comments there, brother, and I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing. We'd love to have you back to talk about some other issues.
Love to.
Yeah, so we'd love to get you on. We might even get you on with your cousin Brett there.
Okay, that could be interesting. 2 sentences on at the one thing,
Yeah,
they might send us to jail, mate. We could have a jail term,
me and CJ mightn't get a word in either.
I'd never get a word in, mate. You'd never get a word in. You guys would be out. Yours would be gone.
Well, be just in between the 2 sentences, you might be able to get one.
You think you might be hosting the show, but
we'll get one word in.
That's it. I'd love to come on again anytime you need a person to, not just to fill in, but if you want a bit of a laugh and talk around what's happening out there in the world. And if you need a hand, CJ, with any of the mental health stuff, mate, I'm happy to pass some knowledge on to you. I'm happy to give you a hand with it. And JB, if you need a hand with anything, mate, you just let me know, and I'm happy to do that.
Thanks,
love to come to one of your things, one of those little things you have at Emu Park one day, and
we'd love to
maybe have
you there. So
maybe have a little chat to the people up there.
Just tell you, Jeff, lock it in for the 3rd of June 2026, we're back at Emu Park.
Well,
Sorry.
one of my best mates is the president of the RSL sub branch at Emu Park.
Whoa.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah. So, I was his first corporal when he joined the army. So he'll tell you some stories about that, but don't listen to them because they're not true.
Yeah.
Anything that's bad about me is not true. Okay, all right.
I've got actually a good mate I used to play for. He's I think he's president of the Queensland RSL now. Bill.
I know Billy Whitburn. I
Yeah,
certainly do know Bill. Yep, I certainly
I used
do.
to play footy with
I've had many conversations with Bill at RSL AGMs and a few other things. So yeah, I certainly do know Bill.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of stories about Bill if you want to hear them too. So
Yeah. I want to hear. I can take them back to him, mate. So,
Yeah.
all right. Okay.
Brett.
Love to do that.
Yeah. Very good.
Beautiful.
Thank you for coming on, brother.
Oh,
Been really
thank you for having me.
quite enjoyable.
It's an absolute honour to be here. So,
thank you.
Any time, just let me know.
Thank you, Jeff, and take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us. See you again next